Thank you, Mrs. Kemi Dowokpor, for speaking with us.
You're welcome.
To start, could you tell us about MYL
All right.
and its mission in the field of language education and training in Nigeria?
Right. So my name is Kemi Dowokpor. I'm the director of MYL Language International. We're based in the UK and with a branch in France and now in Nigeria. And the purpose of MYL Language is really to make language learning fun. Specifically in a country like Nigeria, we know that we are surrounded by French-speaking countries and that it's of enormous benefit that we are able to master and communicate with French as a foreign language. And so my passion and my life's work has been working through theater, through drama, through games, teaching teachers how to teach. So that's one of the things we do. We run teacher training sessions, enabling teachers to teach.
What are the specific programs that you offer in terms of training teachers?
Well, three major things. We, for instance, are running a conference probably this month on the 18th and the 19th in Abuja with the ERC, the Education Resource Center. It's called the Creative Language Learning Conference, and there we look at different methodologies that can be used to effectively teach language, from technology to hands-on resources and the use of them, from lesson planning to content learning, language learning, and a diversity of tools and resources that are available to teachers right from primary through to secondary.
How do you tailor your training to meet the needs of diverse learners, including professionals and students?
So we have different types of training. One of the trainings we have is called the chat room. The chat room is a specific, we launched a student's version of it today at the Frenchecho career event. The whole idea is that students can join our platform that has audiovisual material on specific conversational topics. So for instance, we have a research about, let's just say, the Amazon jungle and what happens in the Amazon jungle. And they listen to audios, they watch the videos, and then they come into a space on the platform called the chat, where they have a coach alongside about 10 other students of their level. We test the levels before we put them in those groups, and they have an hour straight conversation about a particular topic. This way, the confidence, the speaking, the ability to be confident in speaking begins to develop. Because as we know, if you're not living in the country where the language is being spoken, the likelihoods of becoming fluent and being able to speak easily are less. And so we create an artificial immersion environment by having you join a conversation called the chat room on a regular basis. So that's what we do for students. When you talk about adults, we have a program called French for Busy Professionals. Again, our focus is on two particular skills: listening and speaking. We recognize the fact that when you are learning a language, you could focus on reading, writing, listening, and speaking. The two skills that tend to suffer the most are speaking and listening. And so, except you give yourself a deliberate strategy that looks at that particular aspect, you are likely to be strong in reading and writing. And that's what we see with a lot of graduates, that they are strong in reading and writing, but listening and speaking tend to be a bit dicey. So apart from making it fun, we ensure that whatever we do focuses on those two skills. In MYL Language, we pride ourselves in those two skills. Not that we can't teach the other things, but we recognize that it's a complement to whatever is being done within the general education setting.
Can you share any success story from individuals who have benefited from
Absolutely.
your training programs?
In November 2023, we ran a project called Pinot the Musical. And this was run with Alliance Française Ikoyi. It was a musical theatre. We had children, and if you go on our YouTube channel, you will see the video that evaluates the children and the way they felt about those performances. So some of the children came to us, and this is another thing about what we do. It's not necessarily coming directly to say we're doing a French production. We're just saying who loves to dance, who loves to sing. looking at their creative side and appealing to that side to draw out their innate ability to be able to build on their own preferences or their own vocations in order to develop language skills. And that's what we did with Field Musical. So we had some of our actors that didn't do French in school, didn't know any French at all, and at the end, they wanted to know French. And that, for me, is really important. The will, I talked about that earlier on. When you create the will for a learner, then you're much likely to have a learner who goes all the way. Where you force the subject on a learner, you're most likely to have them drop it like a hot potato.
Yeah, you're just talking about artists. How do you incorporate cultural aspect of French language into your training to enrich the learning?
So when you talk about culture, what is culture? Culture is a combination of a lot of things. You can talk about dressing, you can talk about food, you can talk about geography. So there's a richness when we talk about the word culture. Even in France, you have a diversity of cultures. So to say incorporate culture, it is always important to know your learner and to know where they are, where the starting point is, and what you're going to bring into that space that enhances and relates to where they feel they are in terms of culture. In terms of culture. So that's it. So I can't just say this is how we incorporate culture. I'd have to say, who is my learner? What am I doing? What is the program? Where are they? So for instance, when we talk about travel, we encourage visits to places like Ivory Coast, to Benin Republic. Yes, we do France, but that's another way or another aspect of culture. When you talk about French, you have to acknowledge the Francophone world. It's not just French, France, Luxembourg, Belgium. There are a lot of other cultures that are now mixed up with the French language, just like Nigeria is mixed up with English culture. So that cultural acquisition can be done outside the four walls of, should I say, France.
What are the challenges do you face in promoting French language learning in Nigeria, and how do you actually address this?
I think the greatest challenge is one where a lot of people don't have faith in the abilities of learners. So there's that ideology that because they don't live in the environment where the language is spoken, as much as schools and other institutions are like, oh yeah, it's really good, we do French, you feel that there is not enough resources put to it. Because I think from the starting point, there's a sense of it's not going to work anyway. But I dare say that where there's the will, there's the way. And I've met some, good stories, success stories, where schools have put in the effort that is required in order to achieve the goals that they set as a school. I have to say, language learning is a journey, it's a marathon. It's not something you can just wake up and do haphazardly. And it's not something that you can just do superficially. Because if you don't dig roots and create a system, then you will end up not achieving the goal in the end and getting tired and just leaving it. So I always say, find out your why. Why do you want to do this? And sometimes it takes a very good teacher to be able to dig and identify the why. So that when the learner does say, oh yeah, I have a friend now in France, and I want to learn about how they do this and how they do that, that becomes a why. You need to find a why. Where there's no why, you're sure they'll run out of steam.
In your opinion, how important is collaboration between educational institutions and organizations like MYL?
I think it's indispensable. Why do I say that? There's a time factor. Within any academic institution, everything is tight in terms of time. So with all the best will in the world, they can probably allocate 1 hour, 2 hours, maximum 3 hours a week. So what we do is we become the cement, creating a situation where the learner themselves is the one who goes out of the way to learn. And you want that complementarity in order to be able to achieve the objective in the end. So collaboration is definitely key, and that's the best way to work.
What's your evaluation of today's program that French up your career in enhancing professionals and even students' proficiency?
Yes, well, I have to say that I'm very pleased with the event of today. The turnout was amazing. It was good to see students from quite a wide range of institutions participate, some traveling from as far as Ondo State to take part in this. So it shows that there is a will somewhere and that people need the help that we want to offer. The other thing is that we had some amazing speakers, the work done by the professors who came, the panelists who spoke, everyone giving their own perspective on this whole journey, and I think it's together that we're going to be able to make a difference, and you see that sense of togetherness in today's event.
What would you advise for individuals who wish to
improve their French? Join Mind Your Language. Yes, seriously, because we have programs to do that. You see, a lot of people say, oh yeah, I'll just go on the internet, I'll just learn. Seriously, you need structure to learn. You need discipline to learn. If you want to take it seriously, I mean, you just want to play around and you just want to, say a few words, bonjour, comment ça va, et tout ça là, okay, easy. But if you want to have serious conversations, you need to put time and you need to put resources. And when you put those two things together and you have a strong why, you're sure to achieve your goal.
Finally, how do you envision the future of language education in Nigeria, particularly concerning the French language?
Well, allow me to dream a little.
In job market globally.
Allow me to dream a little. Allow me to dream that if I was president of Nigeria, as some of our contestants say, I will ensure that I put resources behind the French language agenda, right from primary up until university. Most European countries and other countries that are successful in terms of English have done that. And so that's you can't get that if you don't put the effort behind it. So I dare say that I see a Nigeria where our presidents recognize that they can't just play lip service to what they're intending to see as a result. And that serious resources, serious collaborations, serious creative thinking of how to deliver the French language can appear. I, for one, am very happy to work with the government. For instance, Ekiti State came along to one of the seminars I ran in Abuja because they showed the goodwill to do that. Kwara State was involved as well. I've been in contact with the education ministers from Benue State, from Ondo State, and generally there is the will. Yes, everybody's time constrained, but at the end of the day, once the will is there, then things are delegated and things can take place.
Thank you for your insights and also for the work you are doing in MYL.
Thank you very much.